Yeah. Hello, Leah. How are you? Sarah? Morning. Jordan, how are you? Things are good? Okay. Family's okay? What are you gonna do for the holiday? Oh, okay. How many people? Okay. Sounds good. You guys gonna have turkey or chicken? There you go. Madison, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Everyone's good today, actually. It's a great day.
What?
Today is a great day, and I hope that everyone else is having a great day too.
Oh, you're very kind.
Thank you.
I feel so miserable. I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
Louis, when is your child coming out?
February.
February, okay. Man, we had all the stuff. I mean, I don't know how you feel about secondhand, but cribs and strollers, little backpack you can just put your kid in.
We created another day was Amazon registry list.
Oh, yeah.
It's worked out for some of my friends.
You're a Costco member, right?
I am.
So, once in a while they have diapers on sale and wipes on sale, formulas on sale. So you just need to keep your eyes open because those things are expensive and kids go through like 50 of them a day, So, yeah. So, you guys want to talk about anything or should we just go home? Lay, who are you texting? I'm sorry, you're taking notes. I forgot. Oh. Who? A client? Oh, you are? Who does? Thank you, Lay. Appreciate that. Yeah, Ali.
You're doing pre-watching. I just got my eyes up. I'm saying, I graduated from the department last year. Very cool. Great.
So for you men or women who want to be, it's there.
Or you guys just want to support they do services on Fridays after the is a festival.
Yeah.
What's going on, Amir? Want to talk about anything today?
How about you, Lay? Let's do it. Come on.
Like everything you talk about, like during the whole semester, it kind of like came full circle. You're like right about a lot of stuff.
You're what?
You're right about a lot of stuff. Thanks.
It just takes time. Yeah. My mom would always say to me that I would be the child who would give her a heart attack because I just, gave her so much trouble. I couldn't understand why. I was just being passionate about life. And then 20, 30, 40 years passed by, then I realized that I was just stupid. And she wasn't. It just takes time. Yeah. So anyone with anything? We don't have to talk really about much. We can just stand here. EJ, what? What is it?
People trend towards.
What's your shoe size?
My shoe size?
Yeah.
Like 11.
Okay. Some years ago, I got some shoes from Clark's, like buy one and get five free. I mean, not like that, but you know, all these shoes I don't even wear. Try to bribe my dean. I said, I have all these jackets. I don't wear them. I have underwears I don't wear. So I went to his office and said, take off your pants. Let me try this on you. He said, Amir, what are you doing? The point is, I have a lot of stuff I want to give away, but everybody's like size 12 and their waist size is like 55. What the hell? Oh, go ahead, sorry.
People generally trend towards the state of greatest comfort. They like to be lazy. But there's something about passion that compels people to, like Alex Honnold, for example, climbs those big rocks. It's a tremendous amount of discomfort and a tremendous amount of exertion. He doesn't have to do that. Nobody's making him do it. Why does he do it? And there's plenty of examples of this, of people putting themselves through tremendously difficult situations for not a lot of reward. Just passionate about something. Why is that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Let me know when you find the answer. Some people stay in relationships. They're not really passionate about their companion, but it does create security and comfort. It does create meaning and belonging. It's kind of like a mini cult of sorts. You go shopping together, you vacuum the house together. Sometimes you just need some separation time. But it's not particularly interesting, but it's something that we've done for many, many thousands of years, because stability is one of the things about life, is that it doesn't have any stability to it, and at every moment there is something coming your way. And so marriage happens to be one of those things, this myth that, despite people coming and going, your spouse is the one that will stay by your side until the day you die or she dies. And so we create this kind of fantasy about marriage. It's the only thing that does create stability next to God and belief in religion. Some people, for whatever the reasons are, whether they've been exposed or contaminated by wanting to romanticize life or relationship, after a while they say, you know what? I see two people holding hands by the lake. I see two people like kissing. I want that. And if you happen to be in the right place in life where that particular image goes inside you, and begin to slowly like percolate or blossom, you kind of look at your spouse, your companion, or your life, whatever it may be. I have a colleague, I think this person teaches, I don't know, some soft science field. And and
I got a little Bible.
yeah.
I got a little Bible.
And so one day he, sends us an email saying, well, I'm not really particularly a good instructor, but I can kind of commit to this particular committee. And you sit back and you say, well, if you know that about yourself, why not, instead of wasting your time and wasting everybody's time, and especially wasting students' time by being in the classroom and being an awful instructor, just go out there, do a workshop, make yourself a little better. The truth is, some people are okay with being who and what they are, and some people are not. Some people are condemned to live a certain life that is, I suppose, bigger than simply sitting by the TV and vegging out. Some people just happen to be, for the right or the wrong reasons, in the right or the wrong place. They see two people kissing and they look at their spouse and say, you know what? We had those moments are gone, but I want them back. I want to kind of feel alive. You see someone who is sad and not particularly happy, i.e. depressed. They look at someone and they try and they try and they try, and some people give up and some people don't give up. The truth is, a good amount of who and what we are is really just luck. I can't tell you how important luck is. You don't find very many people like Alex Honnold. You don't find very many people like Muhammad Ali. You don't find very many people like Mike Tyson or Magnus Carlsen or Bjorn Borg or Roger Federer. The tragedy is, I think, when you put these folks on the billboard and then you deceive people into thinking that everybody can do or can be those people if they would just focus, if they would just make some sacrifice, some effort, then you have a whole host of issues on your hand, because some people are just talentless, and that's just the way things are, So, that's one of the reasons I really, really dislike people who come on the stage and tell the rest of us that our lives suck. And if I've ever done in this class, my apologies. The truth is, I didn't choose. For example, let's just say I am a relatively okay instructor, somewhat animated. I didn't choose to be animated. I didn't choose to be passionate about ideas. I didn't choose to have this longing or yearning that drives me towards philosophy, and this forces me to kind of look for meaning that is outside of the realm of tables and chairs of life, And then I come to class, I look at the rest of you, and you say, well, I'm doing economics, and I just beat you up intellectually. Economics, that's for losers. If you want to be an economic major, at least be like, John Adams, And I think it's just a wrong way to approach things. Some people are okay with just surviving life. If you go to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, some people are perfectly okay, spending their entire life pursuing food. Because it is tough. Louis, in a couple of weeks, man, he's going to be a father. And I don't know what he does for a job, and I don't know how much money he makes. But his wife will demand a good school for his kid. And you may be making like $50 an hour, but it's not going to be enough. Hello, Matthew. And you realize that about 9 to almost 99% of your brain space, your mental space, is just occupied with, I want to get a bigger house, I want to make more money, I want my kids to have this, I want my kids to have that. Louis is, to some extent, he's an immigrant. He wants his kids to have things that he himself or his parents never had. That's really like way up there. He wants to achieve high things, And so someone like Nietzsche or someone like Kierkegaard, someone like Jesus Christ comes forth and says, I'm here to make you feel bad about the life that you're living, because human beings don't live by bread alone. Are you kidding? I care. I love my kids. I want my kids to have the best thing, and here you are condemning my life. And what you realize is that not everyone has the temperament of Jesus Christ or Jean-Paul Sartre. Not everyone has the privilege to be like that. And yet they have the power, intellectual power, to speak and to write and to make the rest of us feel bad, I don't know why some people all of a sudden become disheartened. Some people become sad and depressed for the life that they have lived. And they go at 360 and they want complete transformation. You see it everywhere. You see someone making millions of dollars, all of a sudden they quit their job, they walk out of their marriage, they leave their kids, by the wayside and say, I'm just going to go to the mountains and figure out the meaning of my life. Some people do that. And they are billboards. They are like pieces of advertisement. And we look at them and say, we want that. But what you don't realize is that, you may not have the talent for it. You may not have the intellectual capacity for it. The elements of shame and guilt inside you may be to the degree that those people who walked out of life, they don't really have. Socrates walks around naked just talking to people. He's got the capacity to examine every aspect of life, and he doesn't care. He's like Galileo. He comes forth and says, it's the earth that revolves around the sun. Well, God damn it, I'm a religious person. My life doesn't have very much meaning. I like to believe that I'm unique. I'm unique because God made me. Here you come with your philosophy, and you say, you know what? The earth is like the speck of dust in the middle of nowhere. What am I supposed to do with my life now? Do I go to church, and what happens when I go to church? Do I believe in God, stop believing God? So the point is, there is also this cultural element to it. Westerners are just unhappy. The culture makes them that. I don't know, just go on YouTube and just watch some of the shorts. What people these days especially do with AI, how they change their body type, their faces, and you kind of look at this and say, you know what, I don't want to look like this. And what you have is a culture that makes you feel bad about every aspect of who and what you are and what you have. Your parents are not good enough, your face is not good enough, having these degrees are not good enough, having this particular is not. This is what the culture does. And all of a sudden you realize, your life has been relatively okay for the past 20, 30, 40 years. All of a sudden nothing works. Add to the fact that everybody talks about wanting to be happy and wanting to be successful and wanting to be the next Kim Kardashian and Taylor Swift. Jesus Christ is endless. For those in this class who want to have children, or children are about to come out, you may not know this, but in a few years you'll be very, very concerned about your kids and the school they go to. Leave Oakland, find yourself a nice neighborhood or a nice apartment to live that has good schools. So when your kid turns to be 5 or 6, you can kind of have more of a peace of mind. So think ahead. Anyway, so that's the answer to your question, EJ, I think. Yes, Lay. Yes, Leah.
How do you discern between those who are truly profound and those who are just false prophets? Who is actually...
You can't know. It's impossible. Every time you talk to someone about your truths, and they happen to be true, it's with a lot of life experience and a lot of reflection, examination, and you realize that, it's kind of like parents, what they go through with their kids. I think the only way you can kind of release some frustration is always go back in history. Jesus was a wise man. Despite all of his wisdom, he was rejected. I'm just a mom or a dad with a tiny amount of wisdom. Martin Luther King Jr., Mahatma Gandhi, every hero or savior you see out there throughout human history, they've always been rejected. which means that they have something that some people or a lot of people couldn't see. And if they saw, they couldn't trust. And if they could trust, it would just be far too scary to follow. There is another, I think, aspect to your question, which is the following. Imagine that I've never been in a romantic relationship and you have neither. And so you and I come upon each other and I like you and you like me, but there is no shattered trust inside me and there are no shattered trust inside you. We both come from a relatively good background. It's my first romantic relationship. I don't walk into your world with fear and doubt. Do I sometimes feel anxiety? Absolutely. Am I fear of telling you I love you? Sure. You'll probably feel the same way. And then we'll go out after a certain while. I look at you and say, Leah, I love you. You say, Amir, I love you back. And we continue our relationship. And after a while, without really us knowing too much about relationships, we are saturated. I look at you and I feel bored. You look at me, you feel uninspired and bored as well. Or maybe things happen and you go your way, I go my way. And the person with more power heals quicker. The person with less power takes a while for that person to be healed or to recover. So after 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you realize the pangs of loneliness is a bit too much. So you go out on a dating scene. But you can't trust your judgment anymore because you've been there, you've done that. You can't trust the other person because you don't know what their intentions are, if they're really there for you, if they're there for your body, if it's a hit and run, if it's hit and stay, who the hell knows? And I suppose the point I'm trying to make is, the idea of true prophets versus false prophets. First, no one can tell, and no one can tell you. Of course, you can be duped by the words of other people, and you can follow the true or the false prophet for a while until your own life experience is going to reveal certain things to you. But the other aspect of your question has to do with the fact that, I trusted this person, I followed, it didn't end up too well. So there is an element of doubt that they just exists in your question. Or it may not really be life experience, it's just you having read the Bible a few times where the Bible talks about true prophets, false prophets. And you say, well, how can one tell? It may be the outcome of your own reflection, But ultimately, you don't know. It's like anything else. You don't know if your marriage is going to survive. All you know is that you love this person and you want to marry them. But, having said all that nonsense, I will say the following. If you fall in love with Satan, if you begin to worship Satan, he can take you to where you want to go, Leah. I could be a mass murderer. If on the other hand you fall in love with me, you will become a poet. And you will suffer the pangs of separation no different than the Romeo and Juliet story. And the last thing I should say is the following. Everyone ultimately turns out to be false. You know why? Because there comes a point where you want your own life experience to be your own prophet. We don't want a middleman, whether it's Jesus Christ, or your mom. You just want to figure things out on your own. Some people come to class and say, can we talk about Plato? I say, no, I don't care about Plato. And maybe you'd be interested. But after a while you say, you know what? Plato has some really interesting ideas. But I want to get to this place where I don't know what lived inside Plato, but I want that. And all of a sudden you realize, well, books can't give you that and people can't give you that. Just someone needs to come into your life, create a relatively, just a physical environment. A lot of back and forth. So ultimately you can be pregnant with anguish and dread and passion and meaninglessness and hopelessness and depression. So your back and knees can bend and break. And then you can kind of just cry and maybe scream. And then if you're lucky, you'll have a breakthrough. So at a certain point, when you have the right tools, you got to create your own house. Is it? Yeah, Ali. Ali, I can't hear. Does this go back to dementia?
No.
Ali.
What is actually your statement about everybody being false? I don't know.
Yeah.
I was wondering, what makes somebody a good person? Like, is there anyone who's actually ever really truly a good person? Are you born that way, or is it? But
Look, if you are hungry and you come to me and say, Amir, can I get $5 so I can eat like a number 2 at In-N-Out? And you know what number 2 is, right? Cheeseburger, fries, and a medium Coke. And when you're done with the fries, you can always go back and say, no, it's 10. Yeah. Oh, you thought it was on sale today?
Yeah.
So now, what you may not know is that just before getting out of the house, I just beat the crap out of my kid. But that particular information is absent from you. All you know is that I just gave you $10. So you categorize me as like a saint. Okay. Let's say you come to my office not because you need money, but because you say, Stanford just sent me a letter of acceptance. I know I'm failing this class, and my acceptance is conditional. The only way I can get to Stanford is by passing this philosophy class. I say, okay, so what are you studying? You say, well, I'm doing like microbiology. That tells me, well, you're not really interested in like too much reflection, contemplation. You're not at that stage just yet. Now, I have to sit back and say, should I give her a passing grade, even though she's never come to class, even though she's never done any work? And I say, yeah, I'll give you a passing grade. And then you'll walk out of my office saying, well, Amir is really a nice guy. Okay. Let's say you get your PhD in biology and, I don't know, you get a like high position job like George W. Bush when you got a C at Harvard. And you just become a very mean-spirited human being. You just bully everyone. And someone runs into me and says, Ali was ever in your class? Yeah, 20 years ago she took my philosophy class, and the reason she got into Stanford was because I gave her a passing grade. And they tell me, if you had failed her, maybe she wouldn't be in this high position. And maybe then she wouldn't have the power to bully people. You did the wrong thing for giving her a passing grade. And so the point I'm trying to make, it's very subjective. It depends on the needs. It depends on resources. For a clan member, getting rid of people of color, that means ICE is a good person. For a person of color who's seeing their kids being thrown away, ICE agents are evil. So good and bad are relative concepts. For the Jews, Jesus is bad. He's like next to Satan. For those like John and Matthew and Mark and Mary Magdalene, for example, maybe Jesus Christ is a saint. Your mother who doesn't believe in divorce, when you divorce, she'll probably just categorize you as an outcast. She doesn't want to talk to you, see you. For your children who see their father, me, being abusive, you being very, very, very decent for leaving me. How is it possible? A mother who loves you, sees you getting a divorce and demeans you. Your kids who see me abusing you, see you and say, this is the best move you could ever make in your life. I mean, look at this class. There are some people who like me, there are some people who don't like me, there are some people who care, some people who don't care, you know. So, yeah, that's the best I can do. I mean, I like to go to Home Depot and just take things.
Like what?
2x4s, you know. And the cashier asked me, so how many 2x4s you have? I got 2. But the truth is I got like 50. And I pay him at 20, you know. Saves me a couple of bucks. Yeah, right. Oh yeah, it's finished, it's done. Yeah. My
Get behind the cage. And then walk everything. You gotta go to a Home Depot that's not so secure. They don't swear.
You gotta go to Home Depot to nice like it's pleasant.
see, we have lots of professional criminals in this classroom, they know.
And you're not the only one.
Oh man. Anyone else? They? Ah. Leah, anything?
Humans need motivation or inspiration to act, but to gain motivation or inspiration, you have to act. How do you, I guess, make your way around that?
One of my best friends, she had suffered from depression for 30 years. I told her to come and live with us, and she did for a year. Gave her books, found her a job, bought her a car, signed the lease for an apartment for her. But it's like depression lived inside her soul. And after a while, it just, none of us could do anything. You know, she was unreachable. You know, inspiration is important. It's like a seed. You know, it gives you hope. It pushes you to act, to be engaged. But you gotta need people around you who are able to inspire you every single moment. You can't be left alone. You know, it's like a grieving mother. The moment you leave her alone, the moment she has no company, she thinks about her loss. And she just sits and cries and feels helpless and hopeless and all that. So as long as there are people around her, you know, gossip is a wonderful thing. You know, what kind of a food do you want? You know, go shower, here's a soap, here's shampoo, let me give you a massage, let's go for a walk. These are gossip, but, you know, it releases some tension. And so, depending on, you know, what it is that you want to receive, and depending on the person who's giving, it's a give and take situation. You know, but the truth ultimately is that inspiration is simply not enough. Action, engagement is so difficult, especially if being on the couch and watching TV has been, you know, part of your life for the longest time, and it's what you do. I don't know if you are aware of this. You know, 40% of children under the age of 10 are medicated. And the simple reason is technology. Can I inspire my child to be away from the TV for a minute? Yeah. But the addiction is there. Which means that I have to spend the rest of my life protecting the inspiration until the kid comes to the awareness that, you know what, watching these shorts, you know, life is slow, life is boring, shorts are fast and exciting. And after being, you know, watching the shorts or YouTube for like an hour or two, when I walk into life, life has nothing to offer me. And then you just disengage with life. Okay, so I inspire you. I take you out and we play volleyball or basketball or soccer. Well, I can do that for an hour. You have 23 hours left. What are you going to do? So there is, one way, I think. There may be other ways, I don't know. Electric shock therapy doesn't work. Therapy doesn't work. Medication doesn't work, depending on, If I was to just share with you my own life experience, it would be the following. I loved my teacher. That love created enough respect, enough fear, enough anxiety that I just didn't want to disappoint him. It would crush me. Add to the fact that it was the early 80s, no technology, didn't have any money. They were poor in many ways, which was really a privilege to be poor because it meant that you had to work really hard to earn a buck. So you always had to be on the move. And there came a point I said, you know what? I'm just going to do philosophy. If I have no choice but to wash cars for the rest of my life, it's a family business. It's okay. I can at least sit and read books. So if you have passion for someone, and if that passion can kind of become wildfire, there's a good chance you would not want to disappoint your child. I mean, the person. It's kind of like having a boyfriend or a girlfriend. You just love them. So when they say, I want Zachary's pizza and you know you don't have any money, well, you just go sell yourself for a few bucks and you just, afterwards you go and have Zachary's. That's what you do. Remember, when you love something enough, you will not want to disappoint it. And that's the best motivation. Like, Matthew, Stephanie. Tiffany. To what? Thanksgiving break? Plate?
Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry, I don't got no feels.
No, I mean, it's great. We just all of us get together and cook. I go to the car wash with my brother and my dad, my sister, my wife, and my sister-in-law. They in the kitchen, they cook. Then we grab some food and we sit and talk politics. And then everybody starts screaming and shouting and fighting, and everybody leaves in a bad mood. And you realize all the food you ate, it's like constipation, diarrhea. Politics, it can do that to you.
You have a lot of Democrats in that?
Best question anybody's ever given.
Third world people, there is a reason why it's called third world. You have a lot of tyrants governing, the country. And all tyrants have the same demeanor, the same attributes, the same qualities. And so, if you come from a country that has been demolished because of a tyrant, you compare and contrast that to Donald Trump, for example. You may see some commonalities, you may not see any, but if you do see commonalities, there's a good chance that you may say, what's happening to America, for example? And that awareness by itself, or observation, I don't know if it makes you a Democrat, but you can see some similarities between, Hitler and Donald Trump, or Hitler and Khomeini, or, Saddam Hussein or Gaddafi. So, you're just held hostage for like 30, 40 years. I just don't know how much power, how much money one man needs, but yeah. Matthew? Sarah?
Do you think
Yeah, of course.
this world, this society should prioritize freedom? Should it prioritize common sense?
You're going to be a father soon. And children do not enjoy being held back. They want to go out there, explore, break things, say things, do things. And they'll have difficulty sleeping at a certain point. You know, they want to stay up and watch TV. If you're a very, very smart man and you have a very smart wife, you kind of put your kid on this routine so that when he gets to be like 10, the routine is he just sleeps at 7 o'clock. If on the other hand, you allow him to roam around freely, there comes a point where you will have no power to control him. And though at the age of 0 to about 10, watching your kid being free is very enjoyable to parents, when he gets to be 11, it won't be as enjoyable. Because you want some discipline, you want some control, you've come to realize that the world is dangerous and your son needs to be aware of that. But he's been pampered in freedom. That's his seasoning. And so beginning to control him at that stage is going to be tough. He'll probably hate you. And so you realize that routine is really good. In routine, you remove some freedoms from people. And in getting rid of freedom, you create some stability. Initially, they won't like, but we are resilient and habitual creatures. Eventually, we'll just accept. We're all, certain parts of us is always going to be like sheep. You'll just follow, you know. There is nothing wrong with your kid, getting on the bike, closing the garage door, and just running into the street or riding into the street. Hello, as long as you've trained him to look to the right, to look to the left, make sure there are no cars. And so that particular freedom that is anchored on some awareness is wonderful. If on the other hand, you have undisciplined, mindless freedom, then it could damage you. Consider what happened in the 1980s with the emergence of AIDS, for example. It is true that contraceptives came about, the 1960s, and our relationship to sex became far more casual to our bodies and how we express ourselves through our physical body. But when AIDS came about, you realize just free love, sometimes it can be very, very costly, i.e. death. And so what you did was you restricted your freedom by wearing a condom, by making sure that you're protecting yourself, And so I think as long as you can exercise freedom with a good amount of education inside you, you'll be fine, But to be 18 and say, I'm going to exercise my freedom and just drop out of school, maybe you should just kick the person. Is that true, Levante? Yeah. Jordan, anything? Levante, how about you?
How can I get 8 hours of sleep? That's a good
How do you what?
Philosophize that. Or
8 hours sleep?
I need more sleep. I need to get more sleep. How can I do that? Responsibilities. Like, I work, at school, I have 2 jobs. It was like, how can I, what's more important? Me working or me being at school trying to make my future? How can I get more sleep?
یک سال بخور نون و تره باقیش بخور نون و کره. Butter used to be very, very expensive in Iran. Very expensive, So the philosophy was, if you can refrain from desiring butter for a year, just save your money. How do you save your money? Is by just eating bread and vegetables. Vegetables are like free. Just eat vegetables. There are going to be days you won't like to. You'll just like vomit, but just continue eating vegetables. Once you've saved enough money, you can buy, a loaf of butter that's going to last you for 20 years. You're young right now. You don't deserve rest. You can't just retire from life just yet. You need to work like a mule. Do whatever you possibly can to prosper. Make sure you get a master's. Remember, you're black. Get a master's degree. And even though you may walk to the stores and people may look at you differently, your degrees are not going to be much helpful when you go to Lucky's and you walk around town. But people of color have it much more difficult here, especially now where the language is becoming much more racist. Swastika is becoming normalized now everywhere. So you need to be aware of those things. So as a person of color, you need to be very mindful and aware that if you want to survive in this culture, you need power. Number one, power through education. Number two, by having 2, sometimes 3 jobs. Make sure you steal well without getting caught. Do whatever you can. I'm just saying, man.
Get caught for stealing.
What?
Give him your number. When it comes to the school, comes off.
Right.
My philosophy professor told me to.
You know what I'm saying? Like this, I believe you. Because he knows about philosophy. So
But look, you can steal people's time, you can steal people's energy, you can steal people's goods. The ultimate point is, it depends what exactly it is that you need, and you got to steal that the right way. For example, if you need to pass this class, you need to steal my time by coming see me in the office. And you need to steal my righteous attitude towards myself, and you need to bribe me with like 5 pounds of coffee. These are the stealing. And once you soften me up, butter me up, then you say, Amir, by the way, I know Matthew has done a lot of work for this class and he deserves an A, but do you think I can like steal a B without getting caught? I say, yeah, absolutely. It's a good way to steal. I mean, most of life is about plagiarism and stealing. That's just the way things are. You get your degrees by stealing other people's ideas. These days, whenever people like submit an essay, turn it in. It's a system, that you put these essays through, and it says like 100% AI generated. So stealing. I kind of feel bad for the student. I give him like a C or a D or an F. The point I'm trying to make is you don't deserve sleep. You don't deserve rest. 2-3 hours if you're lucky. Once you have reached a place of prosperity, if you want to rest a little, fine. Don't be a whiner.
it's okay. Like, it's cool. It's cool. Anybody else?
Well, we're trying to see how I can get 8 hours sleep. That just made me like.
I feel down there. Like, goodness.
Matthew? EJ?
What is it about martyrdom that creates immortal ideas? Somebody, I think Lee asked you a question, you dropped that earlier, so I wanted to ask about it.
About what?
Martyrs.
Martyrs?
Yes. People of tremendous influence and inspiration, and then they die, and then they're everywhere. And then they never go away after thousands of years.
It was 1978.
That's crazy.
That's my idol.
Michael Jackson had 2 good songs.
We not finna do that. Mr. Subsolari. We not finna do that. We not finna do that.
All right, he has 5 good songs. The rest were junk. Now, your guys' taste in music is so bad. Now, having said all of that, it was 1978. I was in India. I read the newspaper. It says Iran is like going through a revolution. What? To the mind of a 10-year-old, you don't really know what that means. So you go back home, and every day in the streets, like thousands of people screaming for justice, and they want to topple the government. And man, soldiers would come out with machine guns, and they would open fire, and people, left and right to you would just drop dead. You would carry their bodies to the cemetery, wash their corpses, and then bury them. But when you're the only one who's screaming, it doesn't go very far. But when like thousands of people are just screaming, marching with your fists towards the heavens, you're just more than a piece of meat, man. I mean, justice, that's as old as humanity. That's like a few million years old. I mean, look at you. You're like this 20-year-old fucking punk. Your life means nothing. What are you interested in? Great. That's bullshit. Money, girlfriend, I want to fix this car. But all of a sudden there's this mass movement, justice and fairness, equality. And man, you connect yourself to an idea that's immortal. You become immortal. And soldiers come out, and you know what you do? And you do something that goes against the human organism. You look at them and you say, shoot me, shoot me. Because I think if you see the movie V for Vendetta, I mean, it's so true. Ideas are bulletproof, man. And the moment you say, shoot me, you don't really care about life. You don't care about your past. You don't care about your future. All you know is that you are one and the same with the idea of justice. It's no longer a concept for you. It's like a living organism that's like inside you. You know, I don't know if you know the life of those who come from Afghanistan, US soldiers, any soldier really. You know, you go to a foreign country, I mean, sure, you know, your life is being wasted by politicians. That's besides the point. But, you know, as an 18-year-old guy, you just enlist and you go there. And, you know, your buddies are just being injured. You know, so you throw your body in harm's way. That's beautiful. And then you come back to America. What do you do with your life? You go to Costco. I said, really? At least when I was in Iraq, you know, I would live for something, die for something. Or if you watch that Rambo 4, you know, live for something or die for nothing. Such a great phrase, you know. And so when you talk about martyrdom, you're talking about people who are just consumed with a certain passion. It could be a lifelong passion. It could be momentary, you know. Angela Davis. You know, she got fired from UCLA because of her political stance. And it's something she wanted to do. It's great, you know. So, I mean, look at this other guy, Soren Kierkegaard, this pathetic 19th century philosopher or thinker. I'm tired of believing in things, man. I want like an idea I can live and die for. That's beautiful. I mean, look at Devante, for example. Go ahead. Your hand was up.
No, I was gonna say, isn't that how people end up in this religion? Like, from what you just said, like, looking for an idea, what is?
Yeah, I mean that's how modern cults. You know, that's why they're so popular. That when you have a culture where people are really hungry, because a system such as capitalism just sucks the soul out of you on a daily basis. After a while, you just go home and you say, you know, I'm so tired of waking up at like 6 a.m, standing by the conveyor belt for the next like 12 hours, coming home and having nothing to live for. You know, and all of a sudden this call comes about. And the promises are always the same. It's no different than Jesus Christ. And going back to a question, whether the person, the teacher you're following, or the guru, or L. Ron Hubbard, who's, you know, the head of Scientology, whether he's a true prophet or a false prophet, it's only a thing that time will tell. But I think what it shows that people are just hungry for meaning. If they find in religion, fine. I mean, look at the MAGA movement, for example. You know, make America great. And if you happen to be, if you happen to be like white, and someone keeps telling you that, you know, the blacks are taking over, the browns are taking over, the yellows are taking over, everybody's taking over, and the white are slowly like becoming dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. You know, that's an idea. I mean, there are many like important components missing in that. But if someone can kind of sell that idea to you, and if you can feel profoundly passionate about that idea, you have no problem, you know, losing your life over it. That's how ideas work. You just have to be very lucky to be connected to an idea that's like 80% healthy and 20% poisonous. I mean, I love the idea of beauty, but a beauty that's advertised through Kim Kardashian or Taylor Swift or Michael Jackson, no. Yeah.
What is it that makes modern humans arrogant? There are like so many people in modern times where they just think that they have everything figured out. They think that they have life figured out, and they think that they know exactly what our society needs. And you've said it before that our society is very large and it's very complex, and a lot of ideas just simply don't work or don't apply because of how large and complex it is. So what makes these people think they have it figured out?
Can I tell you a story? "25, 30 years ago, I was going out with this young woman, and I said something to her that I shouldn't have, and she had called my mom. So I get home like around midnight from the Bay Area, and my mom is like standing outside. She comes out, grabs me by the collar, and slaps me 3 times. I mean, really, really hard, with all the force that lived inside her. And, I don't come from a culture where you call the cops. You don't call SPCA and say, I have a wild animal here, can you please take her? Referring to my mom, of course. And you can't talk back to her. And there is a strong, powerful elements of shame and guilt. And I remember getting back in my car and going back to my apartment. And I couldn't bring myself to see her or call her because of the shame that lived inside me. And that meant, and the element of shame is very important because shame means that you hold certain things and certain people over you. You respect them. The moment you get rid of the element of shame, you can fart, you can pee, you can do whatever. I mean, this is not about you, okay? But imagine like you come to class with your like sweats, and they happen to be like pink. I mean, no one is wearing a pink, yours is red, okay?
It's maroon. No.
Or imagine you come to class with like, I don't know, your jammies. Right? No, the point I'm trying to make is the following. There used to be a time where you would wear your pajamas and they were just for the house. Your name meant something. People's gaze meant something. Their judgment were valuable to some extent. I mean, in other words, you had a culture that would hammer out all the awful things that would be bad for you and society. I mean, consider the brand new phrase we've added to the dictionary, or the phrase of the year, 6-7. I mean, what the fuck is that? Every year we add at least 20 to 50 words to the dictionary. And look at these words. They make no sense. I mean, you look at the French and you realize that they're very protective of their language. You look at the British, they're very, very protective. Here, it's like shit becomes the new slang. How the shit you doing? I go to my dean, hey Amir, what's up shit? Okay. And the point I'm trying to make that, when you create a culture that's filled with trash, then anything goes. There was a time, even if you were to look at the evolution of swimming suits, bathing suits for women, just go back to the 50s and 60s and fast forward. And you sit back and you say, at what stage in our culture, wearing thongs, which is like you buy a rope from Home Depot, that's what it is, just a rope. At what stage is wearing a rope and walking, Oh, fuck. It's not a fucking hater. I'm just saying. The evolution of clothing. It's like the evolution of guns. I mean,
Well, that is not comparable.
it is very comparable. I mean, look at Rambo. Look at the first Rambo, his body. Look at the first Rocky Balboa. Baile. You know, I mean, look at these movies that came in the 80s. Look at the body types. Look at, for example, Dirty Harry with Clint Eastwood and the guns they would have. And look at the evolution of guns in the movies. You know, and what you really, I mean, look at the size of sneakers, for example, or Milky Way and Big Gulp. At what stage did that come about? And the point I'm trying to make is when you begin to normalize certain things, then what you're basically saying to people is whatever you want to, however you want to express yourself, it's fine. It's acceptable. You have a trash bin at your place, right? Open it up and see what lives in it. You have all sorts of garbage that lives in it. And that's the culture. You know, and the culture says, well, you know, you can't really pass a judgment on anything because, well, it's people's right. They can express themselves however. And it's the mark of a very uneducated place to be in life. I mean, you don't choose your boyfriends in a trash bin. You know, the things you value most, you don't find them in the trash. You actually work hard. I mean, next time you want to buy something after having saved a lot of money, just examine the way your relationship is with the money and the object you want to buy. You're very, very careful and cautious. You know, in a couple of weeks, Leo is going to have a daughter, right? A boy, you know. But language is changing. You're introducing concepts to like 5-year-olds. I mean, it's devastating. 5-year-olds don't have a processing system just yet. You need to get a little older, a bit more mature, have studied a few books, you know. I mean, life is confusing as it is. You know, you don't want a 5-year-old to come up and say, Mom, you know, I don't know if I'm a he or a she or a they or a it or a them. I mean, those things may all be true to you, but at the age of 5, you know, it's like someone brainwashing you and thinking something that it's not true, or may be true. You just need time to process it. But when you have a culture that just throws everything at people, at a certain point you say, you know what? I really don't know what to believe in anymore. And so you get medicated, you get depressed, you get confused, you get anxious. It's just a sad place to be in life. The nice thing about the culture such as this, though, it allows you to experiment, to explore, to be creative. But, you know, the price for that is very, very costly. And I don't know if it's worth the risk. We have time for one last question. Devontae, go ahead.
Why do you like picking on me? That's the best one that I could come up with right now.
The hell was that?
I mean, like you came for my maroon colored pants. I don't know, like you know.
I said pink. I said pink because
you know, we're talking about Michael.
Michael who?
We don't even got to go there. He was once black. We're not finna do that.
He was once black.
We don't have to do that. But he was, you know.
Oh, you say it. I didn't say it.
Yeah. I mean, this is the truth. It was vitiligo.
It was what?
It was vitiligo. Like that's why he. See, we don't got to talk about age. Right.
Was
No.
Michael Jackson a good person?
Yeah, he was a pedophile, bro.
Well.
Oh, okay.
That's like allegedly.
You're inviting like little kids to come and sleep in your bed when their parents are gone. I mean, like.
I need the car bags.
All right. So look. Okay. Aside from all that, okay. Look. I think one of the nice things about people in power, whether it's Michael Jackson, Kim Kardashian, Donald Trump, is that it shows the bottomless pit of being a human being in the sense that we are yearning for something, we don't even know what it is. You know, you go through like 50 operations on your nose or your face or your hair or this or that. It's not enough. And the truth is, you're grasping or wanting something that your eyes and your fingers and your ears can't touch and taste and hear. And that in itself is quite profound. Someone like me can only live in the fantasies. Someone like Michael Jackson, on the other hand, he actually goes out and experiments, only to realize it's just not enough. Music is not enough. Being white is not enough. Not being black is not enough. This music is not enough. That music, I mean, you know, they don't care about us. It's a beautiful piece of artistry. It's beautiful music, you know. And you realize that regardless of his skin color, regardless of how many operations and how much money he had, that music is powerful. The images in the videos are powerful. And yet it's not enough. And that should tell you something about the sort of place we are in life. It doesn't matter who you are, what you do, where you go. It's just not enough. You know, you're always seeking something and you don't know what it is. You know, we don't have time for it, but next time we come back, there is this wonderful story from the Quran you will also find in the Old Testament. It's about the story of Jacob, Joseph, the brothers, and the well, and the Pharaoh. And what time is it anyways? Oh, so we have 3 minutes. Yeah, we don't have enough time. So, yeah. Yeah.
So since I've been a guinea pig, that means I'm gonna get a good grade, right? Because like since the start,
So I need to know your age.
please talk about this. Girl, I'm not that old.
I need to know your age.
I'm not that old.
Well, no, tell me your age. No, give you a good grade.
That's gotta be like ageism or something.
Yeah, age stands for something. It's not just a number. With age,
Check my wisdom level.
no,
Oh,
no.
okay. Use some small.
You know, I had a student at Sac State, 1997, and she was, I think, 82 or 85 or something. At a certain point, she stopped showing up to class. And it was, you know, I was sitting and issuing grades. I said, well, she, you know, she was 92. She missed a lot of assignments. And then I was told she passed away. Then I had to make a decision. Do I pass her, do I fail her, or do I give her incomplete? If I give her incomplete, it means I believe in resurrection, that she's going to come back to life. She's going to retake the class, you know, complete the missed work.
Wow.
You know, I can give her an F, but she's probably in hell already. She's paying the price for it. So, you know, I decided to give her an A. You know, you're 82 and you're going to school. That's great. Good for you. That by itself deserves like 50 A's. I mean, if you're 18 and you don't do work, it's because you're just entitled and you deserve to fail. If on the other hand, you're like 30 over, you're 30 like you and over, maybe 45. You know, if you're over like the age of 40, you look like 40.
Don't know me. I look like I'm like 15.
All right. You know, you sit back and you say, okay, you know, usually people graduate from high school 18, graduate from college 20. This guy's like 40. Oh my God. Where exactly did he go wrong? So his very presence in the classroom embodies a good amount of regret. You know what? That regret deserves some credit. I'm going to give you a C. If you've done some work, a B. If you brought me coffee with some money, A. I'm just joking, of course.
Right.
As a professional, I'm not bribable unless it happens to be a very unique situation.
What's your favorite brand of coffee?
A dark roast.
Right.
I'm not saying that to get coffee from anybody, but it's dark. It has to be French from Costco because it's cheap. San Francisco Bay. Again, I'm not saying any of this so that not ungrinded.
Use the pressure.
I like things to be whole. Oh,
No, I'm sorry. It was the way you guys were looking at each other.
who? I wasn't looking at anyone.
He's married. Remember, I asked him his age, and he told me he was married. I was like, why are you even correlating that?
Matthew, any last parting comment? Yeah, go ahead.
No, not today, no.
No?
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to all of you.
There he goes.
Yeah, for those of you in this class, I mean, I know this is like kind of sermonic, but for those of you in this class who haven't talked to your parents for a while, send them a text. You don't have to talk to them, you don't have to see them. Send them a text saying Happy Thanksgiving and thank you for screwing my life. Have a nice time with your family, with your friends.
What are you grateful for, Professor? This Thanksgiving.
I'm glad my dad is healthy. It's tough to be grateful. Even though it's a nice bumper sticker. Because we forget and because we have so many needs.
Makes you feel a little less guilty. You're grateful, you pretend like you're giving back.
When you walk this way, there's a big, huge garbage bin that's sitting outside. Look inside of it. Brand new chairs and tables, and it could feed a country. And you sometimes, look at this stuff and you say, wow, this is what happens when you're privileged. You just have money, and if you don't use it, the government will take it. So you throw away good stuff and you buy brand new stuff. So,
It's just like,
yeah. So listen, have a very nice weekend. Stay safe. Don't go to East Oakland or West.
hold on.